Hi everyone, Miss Shaw here, and today we are going to talk about zeros and negative exponents, and we're going to continue on with this from when we started it yesterday. So for our first part of our notes for today, we are being asked to evaluate each expression where A is equal to -4, B is equal to 3, and C is equal to 2. So what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to take the variable that is in each expression and we are going to want to substitute it out with what we are given up here on the top. So for number one, we have 3a to the negative first power. So we are going to substitute out the a with -4, and then we're going to raise -4 to the first power. Now, we can choose to do this, by hand, like how we learned some ways yesterday, or what we can do is we can take out our graphing calculator. We can make sure that we are typing in our parentheses where they should be 3 times -4, which stands for a, to the negative first power. Now remember, anything to that negative power is actually going to bring it to the denominator of the fraction. And when we do so, we get negative 0.75 or -3/4. So what happened is it took this -4 to the negative first power and it moved this into a fraction 1/4, and it brought that 4 down to the denominator. So then we were left with 3 times -1/4, which gives us -3/4. Our next example is b raised to the negative third power. So if b is 3, we are moving this 3 down to the bottom denominator, and we're raising that to a power of 3. So if you take out your calculator, we know that 3 raised to the third power is 27. So let's see how that looks if we have 3 raised to the negative third power, like in our example. Oops, not -3. 3 raised to the negative third power is this weird decimal. Okay, it's kind of long. So if we hit math and then we hit fraction and we hit enter, if you look, it is 1/27. So all we did here was it moved the exponent down to the bottom denominator, and then 3 cubed is 27. So then now, when we have some other variables being multiplied with each other, it is always best to remember that we want to use parentheses. So here we have 4 times a, which is -4 to the second power, times b, which is 3, to the negative second power, times c, which is 2, to the third power. Okay, so we can leave this first chunk on top. So 4 to the negative, or 4 times -4 squared, times 2 cubed, all over 3 squared, because remember, this -2 moves it down to the denominator. So let's see what we get using our graphing calculator. And it doesn't matter which problem you type in your calculator. So maybe we'll just type in the first one. 4 times -4 squared times 3 to the negative second power times 2 cubed. And if you look, this gives us a decimal once again. So you can hit math, you can hit fraction, and it gives us 519 or 512 over 9. Or if you want to write the decimal, you can, 56.89. Okay. All right, now let's move on and let's keep evaluating for 4, 5, and 6. Okay, well, here we have 9 times a to the 0th power times c to the 4th power. And let's refresh our memory. Okay, if a is -4, -4, Negative 4 to the 0th power is just 1, okay? Remember, anything to the 0th power is just 1. So if we have 9 times negative 4 to the 0th power times c, which is 2 to the 4th power, let's go through this one by hand, okay? Negative 4 to the 0th power is just 1, so that's 9 times 1, okay? And then 2 to the 4th power is 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. And we can double check that by just plugging this in our calculator. 2 to the 4th power is 16. Okay, awesome. And then 9 times 1 is 9. And then 9 times 16, oops, not 99. 9 times 16 is 144. So there's an example of how we can go about solving this by hand. We don't always need our graphing calculator. Okay, problem number 5 gives us a to the negative 2nd power. So a is negative 4 to the negative 2nd power, which means that we're really dealing with 1 over negative 4 squared. So remember, everything that's right here, if it's raised to a negative power, just moves down to the denominator. And then we know that a negative number that's squared is going to be positive, and 4 squared is 16. So our answer is 1/16. Okay. And then let's take a look at this one. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. Here we have negative c raised to the negative 2nd power. Now notice that negative sign is in parentheses, right? So when we take negative c, that is negative 2 to the negative 2nd power. So again, anything raised to the negative power moves down to the denominator. So that's 1 over negative 2 squared, which then just becomes 1 over positive 4, which looks just like that. Okay, so that is how we would evaluate an expression when we are given the A, B, and C values right up there on top. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's flip our paper over to the next page, okay, and let's write each number as a power of 10 using negative exponents, okay? So, and remember, when we're dealing with negative exponents, we know that that moves the denominator down, or that moves the number down to the denominator that it's being raised to. Okay? So if we have 1/1000th, okay, so 1 divided by, that is 0.001. Okay? Now, if we have 1/10, let's just take a look at some of these numbers first. 1 divided by 10 is 0.1, so a tenth, right? 1 divided by 100th is 1/100th, so 0.01. So just kind of like getting a feel of like where the decimal place is, how many zeros in front of it, we can kind of work backwards to figure out how we would want to write each number as a power of 10 using negative exponents, okay? So let's go ahead and let's just type in 10 to the 0th power, right? Because we know that anything raised to the 0th power is just 1. So what if we want to say, okay, well, what about 10 raised to the negative 1st power? Okay, well, that is 0.1. That is the same as 1/10. So we can go ahead and we can write down for number 8, 1/10 is 10 raised to the negative 1st power. And notice, here we have 1 as our exponent, and here we have 1, 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about 10 raised to the negative 2nd exponent. That's 0.01. 0.01 is the same as 1/100th. So that's 10 raised to the negative 2nd power. Notice in the number 100, you have 2 zeros, and we're raising this to the negative second power. So negative meaning that it's on the denominator, 2 meaning it has 2 zeros. So if we can use that hypothesis, we can say that 1/1000th is 10 raised to the negative third power. So let's check that out. So 10 raised to the negative third power is 0.001, which if we go to math, fraction, that's 1/1000th. Okay? And then 1/10,000 would be 10 raised to the negative fourth power because there are 4 zeros in the number 10,000. So that isn't too bad. And then if we want to go ahead and we want to write each expression as a decimal, this is where we can go ahead and use our graphing calculator. So if we want 10 to the negative third power, we can go ahead and type that in our calculator, 10 raised to the negative third power, which gives us 0.001. Okay. Now, part 12 or question 12 asks us to find, it's right here, 8 times 10 raised to the negative fourth power. Now remember, we only want to raise the 10 to the negative fourth power. We don't want to raise the 8 to the negative fourth power. So that's why we're using that multiplication sign. Now look at what we have here. We have 8, and then we have this number e, and then we have negative 4. Well, what does this e mean, right? Like sometimes we see this in our calculators and we're not really sure. So when in doubt, you can go ahead and pull up. So let's pull up good old Google here. Oops. And let's ask, what does the e mean in our graphing calculator? So if you see this, it says on a calculator display, E stands for exponent of 10, and it's always followed by another number, which is the value of the exponent. So, okay. So what this is saying is that we have 10 raised to the negative fourth power, E to the negative fourth, times 8. So if it shows up like this in our calculator, that means we're going to have to do a 2-step process in order to find the decimal, because you don't want our answer to just be left like this. So we're going to take 10 to the negative fourth power, and we're going to hit enter. Okay. Which we know 10 to the negative fourth is also the same as 1 divided by 10,000. Which still shows up as 1 e to the negative fourth. So now we have to use what we know from up above, okay? We know that 1/10 was 0.1. We know that 1/100th was 0.01. We know 1/1000th was 0.001. And we know that 1/10,000 now must be 0.0001. So now we can take Okay, so now that we know that 10 to the negative fourth power is 0.0001, we can go ahead and multiply 8 by that in order for us to get our expression as 0.0008. Okay. Now we can go ahead and move into number 13, which is 10 raised to the negative fourth power, which we know is 0.0001, and 14, which is 6 times 10 to the negative second power. Well, we know from up above that 10 to the negative second power is 0.01. So this is 6 times 0.01, which we know 6 times this decimal gives us 0.06. So those are your notes / homework for this Ed Puzzle for tonight. Tomorrow we're going to do lots of practice in class together. We hope you guys enjoyed the last couple of days at home working asynchronously. If for those of you that were in for the PSAT, SAT, we hope you guys did well, and we're looking forward to working with you more, in person, synchronously, asynchronously as the semester goes on. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.